Oh, those are tough ones.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes with the Autry Show. Pig Latin subtitles.
Welcome way. Autry. Alan Tree.
What's up, eh? Okay.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty!
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome to Alan Autry, No Retreat, big, massive Monday. I'm old Alan Autry, and I am so honored and humbled to be here today with you. What a joy to be able to do this now and then, and hopefully there'll be more now than then. But we had a good time. It's been a few days, hasn't it, Phil? When's the last show?
About 10 weeks ago. I mean, last week. Midweek.
Midweek, huh?
Yeah, midweek.
That's when I dropped the show. You know, people drop the show. I'm starting to get the old online lingo here. You got to drop one. But we try to do one as often as we can. But Guillermo has other things. Phil does. I do. But this is very, very important to us, this show. It's just something very, very special. Something that, I never thought I would be doing way back when. But, like they say, you know how to make God laugh, Phil? Tell him your plans.
Yeah, and I love a lot of the things you've done. We're going to start showing some clips of that, right?
Yeah, Phil's doing some things behind the scenes here that we're going to reveal. I don't know if it'll be before the holidays or after, but just wanted to emphasize how much I enjoy being with you all, the audience. It seems like it's growing, old Autry's Army. And if you like the show, tell a friend. You don't have to agree with me. You want to send an email to disagree with me on something, make sure you do that. Because that's something very near and dear to me, that First Amendment and that freedom to express yourself and your opinions, not put people in danger or make threats on somebody's life. Come on, we in this country, we used to understand that. No, you can't say fire in a movie theater and that sort of thing. But this whole assault on free speech has really unnerved me as I get older and get closer to meeting my maker than the day I was born. You start... The Bible says number your days. I'm doing that, and I get unnerved by some of the directions this country's going. I'm sure every generation that gets my age has some worries. Lord knows in the 60s that my mom and dad and a lot of you folks out there that lived through those 60s that were teenagers and young in their 20s during that time, it probably looked like the parents that we were on, as Merle Haggard would say, like a snowball headed for hell. But we turned some things around, the ebb and flow, and got back to the basic principles of this country, which is a country built on Judeo-Christian principles. Now, whether you like that or not is a different story, but clearly that's what this country was based upon. If you want to change that, I guess you got a right to change it peacefully. If you want to turn it into a godless, secular country, where there's no laws, anything goes. That where society really doesn't have any, or the big central government takes away the rights of the individual and treats everyone as a collective. That's very dangerous stuff. We've seen that tried in other countries, in particular the Soviet Union. Happened in Venezuela. It's Yeah, fascist Germany. I mean, it just doesn't work if you value personal freedoms. If you value the freedom to be able to say what you feel without fear of being thrown in prison or put in front of a firing squad, or have your entire way of life of making a living destroyed, by cancel culture or what have you, or the government, as you give more power to the government, historically, they have abused that and taken away individual rights one by one. And I think there's a feeling among some, especially in our university system, but people that I know, that thinks that somehow America would be different. That if we give the institutions all the right, they believe that the institutions are pristine. Okay, what we have, Supreme Court, the separation of powers is basically good on the right or the left. But if you just put the right people in there, that those institutions would not wind up being corrupt. That basically it believes in the goodness of man and mankind, and that's all right to a certain extent. But sadly, mankind has proven throughout the course of history that human beings are flawed. And one of the biggest flaws that rears its head is that tendency to want to have power, a few people, a few elite, to have power over the masses so that elite can become stronger and get all the goodies of life and be able to call the shots and pretty much create what they feel is their heaven on earth. And some people think that would not happen in America. And I disagree, because I'm an evidence-based guy. And when there's so much information and so much proof that you need to have checks on government, you need to have checks and balances to check human ambition more than anything. And that is why the separation of powers is so important. It's why you don't want to pack the court. It's why you don't want to do away with the Electoral College, which is what Kamala Harris and the Democrats are on. And this is a rather new thing for the Democratic Party, to go after those things, those fundamental tenets of freedom, to just get away from the Electoral College. Let me tell you why the Founding Fathers did that. They put that Electoral College because they knew, as people moved to the urban centers, that you could concentrate power within those urban centers of government, of business, influential institutions of every kind would be concentrated in those big cities, and the will of the people outside of those cities would be not listened to, would be ignored. And they knew as the country grew, I don't know if any of them envisioned 50 states, but here we are with 50 states. And we do have to make sure that the people in New York, the people in California get their say, but also the people in Idaho, in Wyoming, in New Hampshire, in the Midwestern states, the smaller states, Nevada, that they have a say as well. And if you got rid of the Electoral College and went strictly with one person, one vote thing, I mean, democracy sounds great, but we're not really a democracy. So you say when these people on the left go after Trump and by saying, or anybody on the right saying someone is a threat to democracy, there's a very fundamental difference there. They're not conveying. It's not a threat to democracy. In fact, they would kind of like that, because if you just have people out and you don't have we have a republic, democracy is one step away from chaos. And I know people take that soundbite, Autry's against democracy. I'm for a representative republic where we vote people in. They do our business there. If we don't like what they're doing, we vote them out. That's the only way to properly function a democracy. And some people think that those are synonymous. They're the same. You have to have democracy before you can birth a democracy before you can have a representative republic. That's what happened to the United States of America. We won our independence, but there was really no structured system in place. that took several years to create that, and a lot of hard debate to get the balance between how much power should be centralized in a federal government and the power that federal government would have over the rights of the states, those original 13 colonies. Virginia, it took a lot to get Virginia. They didn't want to join. They had seen what centralized power left unchecked could do. It was called England and King George, and the taxation without representation, just to take advantage of the colonies, which would be the equivalent of the flyover states, to feed the society in Great Britain, in England, and just tax these people. They don't get a vote. So you saw basically what could happen in pre-revolution of what can happen when you don't have a republic. You just have what you think is a democracy. It was a dictatorship, but they like to just, in England, they still say they gave us more, rights than we point out in our history books to our kids. But I will argue with them on that as well. But anyway, these threats are real to me, and what's worrisome to me is how well funded they are, how many people in this country subscribe to it, and how it seems to be growing in momentum. And it has to be stopped, and not by a violent way. It's stopped by people really learning the truth. Learning the truth. And truth is a valuable thing to have. That whole saying, truth will set you free, but first it'll make you miserable. But finding that truth is more difficult. There's more outlets out there, but I'd rather have more outlets to go to find that truth, or at least what I would think would be the truth. It's hard to find an infallible truth out there. Benjamin Franklin famously said, the only two things in life that are certain are death and taxes. There's more truth out of there, and that's the Bible. But anyway, that's why I'm so adamant in giving so much time at this age that I'm currently at to do this show and point out certain things, and why I can vote for a really flawed candidate in Donald Trump because of his policies to protect those basic principles that this country was founded upon, of individual liberties codified in the Bill of Rights, and not treat everybody like a collective, put us, in this group and that group and that group. Because you put people in a group, it's easier to control them. You have individual rights, you have to really sell people on what policies you have for them is good for them. And basically many powerful people in history and in here in our own country don't like to spend that much time. It's just like, hey, we got you. We know what's best for you. Just give us your tax dollars and we'll give you back what we think you need. Well, that's not America. That's just not. This is of the people, by the people, for the people. A grand experiment that a lot of folks during the time when we said that's going to be how we're going to do things here, the intellectuals of the world laughed at us. Some of the great philosophers, Rousseau over in France, said, that's a recipe for chaos. Country of the people, by the people, for the people, because they've never seen anything like that. Heretofore, before America came into being, there was only one form of governance, and that was either the emperor, the king, the dictator. And I say only one because they're all the same. They just call them different names. And that was the whole thing. You can't give people that much power. They're not capable. They're not smart enough, intellectual enough to govern themselves, of the people, by the people, for the people. Well, we fooled them, didn't we? Because this little country of the people, by the people, for the people went further, faster, economically, militarily, cultural influencing than the history of the world had ever seen in less than 200 years. We became the biggest power in the world, won 2 world wars. Went over that. So it works, but it's very tricky. You have to really be committed to keeping those principles. And it involves the individual right. Yes, we're a country of laws. That's only common sense. But those people we the people establish what those laws are. We don't have somebody, it's never in that Constitution where the government has the right to say you have to jab something in your arm, an experimental drug, and if you don't, you're going to lose your job. That's King George stuff. You understand where I'm going with this? And history has proven that to be true. It's just bit by bit. No, well, you have a right to defend yourself, but we're going to tell you whether you can have this gun or not, and we're going to have a mandatory buyback. And if you don't give it back, we're going to go find that pistol. Not that AR-15. If you just have a pistol in your house, we're going to have the right to come and get that. Well, that would never happen. Do you understand? That is, Kamala Harris said that in her own words. I will promise I will get that soundbite up, and we will play it for you. That's why I do this show at this time. After this election, Guillermo and I have a little confab. I want to keep going because then it becomes the rebuilding to undo a lot of all these policies that have been put in place by the Biden-Harris administration. You don't think you can do very much wrong in 4 years? Look at where you are today. And the old adage, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And the answer is, of course we're not. Food, gas, electricity, the major things. Don't give me this price index and the statistics. The Labor Department says this and that. We know what the times are. People are barely making ends meet. Some are not. Credit cards are maxed out. Interest rates are coming down, but they're still too high. Inflation. They tell us inflation's down. You know what that's like? Don't let them do this. It's like, here's what would happen if I believe Harris was elected in Walz. Or in this case, the whole Democratic philosophy towards inflation. Just tax, spend, borrow, repeat. That's their economic plan. That is jet fuel for inflation. So let's say they get elected. 4 years from now, bread is $20 a loaf. Here's what they'll say. Okay, bread is $20 a loaf, but it is down from a year ago when it was $25 a loaf. So inflation is going down. So joy, let's be joyful. That's what they're trying to tell you. Gas was about $2 a gallon. Many places over $5, got up to $6. Now they say, well, inflation is coming down, but your benchmark is $4 and $5, not $2. By the way, wages didn't go up to match that. And here in California, we did the dumbest thing you could ever do was raise the minimum wage. Because all it did was fuel inflation and increase the speed of machinations to come in and to take the jobs of the fast food workers. So they're going to be out of a job. So the whole thing, the people talk about Trump's tax breaks. Let me tell you why they're so important. And the difference in philosophies between the Democrats and the Republicans. And I'm an independent. I'm just telling you that the Republicans, as a referee, going, this is better because why? History has proven it to be better. Why? Because it's in line with our Constitution, which respects individual rights and trusts individuals when it comes to business. Okay? Reagan was the best at delivering that message. He said the people know best how to spend that money for the greater good, not only of themselves, but the greater good of their community and the country. They will not only be able to put food on their table, buy a car, be able to maybe take a vacation. They'll be able to start businesses. They'll be able to add employees to an existing business. They know because they're there with that business. They're in that community. Trust the people. Cut taxes. Put more money in the pockets of American citizens and watch the entrepreneurial spirit of America be unleashed. The Democratic far left ideology is exactly the opposite. They're saying you don't know what to do with that money if we gave it to you. You'd spend it on stupid things like saving for your college education for your kids. You'd be stupid like saving it up for, a vacation for you and the family. You'd be stupid to start it for some business, especially if you're in Central California. What you want to do, you want to expand your farm? Don't you know we're importing all our food from South America and Europe? We don't need your stinking farms. We're not going to give you a tax break. We're going to give you what we think you need. And what we think you need is some free passes to a nonprofit, seminar on looming climate change. We'll get you some free tickets for that. I mean, these are stark differences. And Guillermo just slipped in. We're going to take a break when we come back. I made a prediction last show. Now, I'm not was it Nostradamus, whatever it is. Karnak the Magnificent. I'm not either one of them. But I do think I got this one right in this prediction last show. And we've got data to prove it. As Guillermo says, look it up. Well, we did, and it might surprise you. We'll be right back. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
All right, Philip, we can come back anytime here. I'm ready to shoot him at Guillermo.
Let's do it.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome back to Alan Autry No Retreat. Guillermo Moreno has slipped into the room. He's a busy man. You are going 120 miles an hour with your hair on fire, but your hair looks good.
Hey,
keep setting it on fire. It looks good.
Hey.
Comes in like Batman. Where did he come from?
Yeah,
he
like
could
a
walk
ninja.
into 100 mile per hour. If he was over there at Hurricane Helene, he could walk right in it. A face would be going, but the hair would be just unmoving, man. He'd use it as a windbreaker, like NASCAR. He'd get behind it, let the full wave in there. All right, listen, I made a prediction.
Okay.
Last show, maybe you're here, I said I had a feeling that the undecideds that were frequent voters, that they survey, that most people have made up their mind, but that little sliver of undecided voters that genuinely were undecided for whatever reason, that didn't pay attention, they were going to work and everything, but because they are dependable voters, you would think at some time, they would sit down and give this election some deep thought. They would give it an hour, a couple, and sit back, take an exhale, and go, okay, what am I going to do? And I felt that process was starting with these undecideds, and I predicted that we were going to see a break towards Trump. I could feel it. I could see it out there, talking to people in the gym, everywhere, just a feeling. Well, we got the poll today, the first poll out, which I think is the first little win coming in, and it's an NBC poll, not Trump's base by any stretch of the imagination. And NBC has now Trump and Kamala Harris tied in the national vote. It had been 49-46. The man has made up a 3-point gain. What do you think about it? Am I overreacting? Does it mean anything? It looks like the battleground states are starting to, because if you move up a 0.2 or 0.123%, that's like a surge in this close of election.
Oh, yeah.
What's your thoughts? Is it real? Give me what's going on.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised. I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised not of what the polls are showing, but the fact that the polls are being honest. You know what I mean? Because
I absolutely know what you mean.
You could go ahead and flip a poll any which way you like. I mean, polls are it's business now. So I'm really surprised that the polls are actually being honest about probably what's going on. I wasn't surprised, and I'm not surprised, because I think I said this about 2 weeks ago. This election is starting to mirror 2016. You have a very unpopular female candidate, Democrat-y. Kamala Harris is an establishment, but she's hooked her bandwagon to a very establishment type of. You don't know what she is, so I'm not surprised. The only thing that worries me now, I think now, is just 2020. Knowing that, hey, we're getting kind of a 2016 feeling. I just want to make sure that the Trump campaign has their I's dotted and their crossed T's in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I really do, because I think we're going to head into the election, and I think Trump's going to be leading very slimly, but he's going to be leading. And then on election night, I don't want to be surprised, but I'm not sure. These states are far too quiet.
It's all about turnout right now, I think. I think you're right. It's going to be turnout.
And Kamala Harris, when you look at the two-party bases, I think Kamala Harris, man, that was a short-lived honeymoon. That was when we were living the honeymoon, we were like, man, this isn't good. But it's a very short-lived honeymoon. I think Brian Kilmeade said it.
It's like that 90-day fiance, though. They marry in 90 days, and then they're going, that next
so
month.
true.
The next month they're going, what? Oh man, that milk that ran down your chin that used to be cute, it just disgusts me now.
That's so true.
And they're
That
fighting
is
like
so
cats and
true.
dogs, man. That was a 90-day fiance with Kamala and the Democratic Party.
But here's the question: how is the media? Because the media shows their cards before the actual politicians. You notice that they did it with Joe Biden. I want to know where the media is headed. If you see the media start to talk about the problems with her campaign and her not doing things, they know that's a sinking ship, and that ship is sinking fast.
Yeah, I agree, and I knew something was up because I check these polls every day, sometimes twice a day. I'm on the phone just like a teenager, but I'm checking this out, and 530 is a website, a polling place online that a lot of networks get their information. And the New York Times, they poll regularly. And you got Rasmussen, Real Clear Politics, all these other. But 530 is a collection of all of them, okay? And they put them together and have an aggregate score on the polls. And the New York Times does as well, very regular. Sometimes they'll update it 2 or 3 times a day. They hadn't updated it in like 4 days. And I knew, and what I'm thinking, they're not liking what they're seeing.
Oh, yeah.
And do we want to reveal this? Do we lie? Do we, here we go, choice for president, right up here behind us. Wait a minute, 51. Oh, 51, 48, 51. That is
YouGov.
That's CBS, NBC,
CBS,
CBS. CBS folks on radio, I'm sorry, we have another graphic that Phil put up there.
There's ABC right there.
ABC has it 50-48, but NBC has it knotted up.
What do you feel, Alan, in your guts? Look into the camera and tell. What do you feel? Who's going to win?
I told him last week, I think Trump's going to pull this out. I feel the public is being very pragmatic now. I think the undecideds are going to decide this.
Yeah.
It's going to be very close. But I also want to make a prediction. It's not a prediction, but it's a could be. I would not be surprised if Harris won. I believe Trump is going to win. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked because it's just there's more Democratic voters. If they get the turnout, they're going to get the turnout. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Trump doesn't win big. I think there's a chance that it's a big victory, much bigger than people may think. I think the game, it is about turnout. I think, a lot of folks that are having misgivings about Harris or just lukewarm about Harris and Walz, I think it might be the couch that determines this election. It won't be the Harris voters going and voting for Trump, but they may stay home on the couch. I think you're seeing a lot of this about the black men that Obama is so worried about. Mm-hmm. We're going to play a clip in just a minute about that, where they're very unnerved about the percentage of black men going to Trump, because I think first time around it was like 9% to Trump. Now it's like 19, almost 20% that of black men. That's causing a stir inside the Democratic Party. And I think Obama I don't think he'll really be viewed as the same after what he said in regard to this, which I think is politically tone deaf from an individual who's usually pretty astute sometimes. But, I would talk about him during his administration. He'd be going on fine and then just do something and say something that was so far off the wall. It was Trump-esque in its silliness. Before he had all the facts, he said the Cambridge police acted stupidly. Here's a president before, when they went and arrested this professor at Cambridge University, found out the man was resisted arrest, this and that, and then he had a beer summit with the cops, trying to have him back on the lawn to say he was sorry about them. But I think Trump is going to win this, barring some really crazy thing. And they're trying to manufacture an October surprise. I don't know if you saw, but these CNN's reporting that FEMA workers, now mind you, Trump said North Carolina's not getting what they need. They lambasted Trump. You're lying. That's misinformation. That's lies. And you're taking advantage. All of the traditional media went after him. Then you find out today, CNN does an article thinking it's going to be a hit piece on North Carolina, on Trump and his followers. They said FEMA has pulled back their help in certain areas of North Carolina because some National Guardsmen saw some armed militiamen arguing with some people. And they were fearful for their lives. So they pulled all of the outreach back into centers that could be protected to protect the FEMA workers. Didn't identify any, who the soldiers were that said they saw this.
That's so bad.
Didn't get an actual quote. So you see FEMA doing exactly what Trump said they were doing, not servicing the people of North Carolina to the maximum that they could. Now, folks, that's not me making this up. That ain't no Alex Jones. This is CNN. This is how they think. They think you're so stupid that they do a hit piece thing on Trump and the MAGA people being armed, that the FEMA workers are scared for their lives while people out there are starving. They don't have water. And you're saying, well, we'll be here at the center, but you got to find your way here.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
That's
just broke today.
It's so bad.
It's anyway. So you say, well, you're Trump's. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. Yeah, him saying stupid stuff, he does sometimes, a lot of the times. But a lot of times these things that are said have turned out to be absolutely true. And I'm going to say, and I want your take on this. I do think part of this resurgence of Trump has to do, they say the vice presidential pick means nothing. I think it's meant a whole lot. In a very tight race, it could be, I think it's a difference maker. Tim Walz, bless his heart, he's just not impressive under any circumstances. It's like Ralph Nader said about the Corvair, unsafe at any speed. About the Corvair. Tim Walz is unsafe under any media. He's going to hurt your cause if you put him out there. He just does not have the gift. And you have him out there trying to make excuses for some statements he's made in the past. He does not have the articulation to do it. On the contracts, you have J.D. Vance, who was able to pull off a Houdini 180, wouldn't you say, Guillermo, in terms of likability. He went into his debate with Walz, one of the most despised men next to Trump on the political landscape.
Oh, yeah.
And in one debate, was able to change minds, soften hearts, and say, you know what, even folks that are going to vote for Harris going, he's not really the creature, this animal I thought he was. And I think that is playing into this undecided voters leaning to Trump. I think Vance makes them feel more comfortable with Trump, knowing that J.D. Vance is going to be in his ear, rather than Harris with Walz in her ear. What does she get from Walz being the last person in the room that Harris hears? I mean, what kind of...
Yeah. I think the VP pick for Trump, I don't think mattered as much as Kamala's pick. I think on the VP stage, I think Tim Walz has not helped out Kamala Harris at all. And for a candidate that's barely even doing her own heavy lifting, she really needed a candidate that was coming in with some spunk, and she had it.
Shapiro.
She had a candidate. I mean, this could be a completely different race.
I was thinking about that last night.
Yeah.
I'm going to level with you folks. If this Shapiro would have been in, the governor of Pennsylvania, it would have been a wash with him. And Vance would not have had his way with Shapiro. Oh, gosh,
no. I think, Shapiro would have fought back.
Shapiro, and very articulate.
Oh, yeah, very smart guy.
And then it shows, I always say, if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be a really, truly good president, and I think this goes for any leadership position, even in your your family, if you're your leader of the family, your CEO, your governor, mayor, certainly for president, you have to come to office with unshakable principles and flexible politics. All too often, it's the other way around. People come in to office, like Joe Biden, like Kamala Harris, with unshakable politics and flexible principles. Then they start saying things like, hey, I'm for fracking, I'm for secure border, I'm for cracking down on crime, but my values haven't changed. No, you can't have it both ways. You can't bail people out. You can't bail potential felons out of jail, then say you're for supporting the police and reducing crime. You just can't do that. And I think that's what you're seeing is you're seeing people. It's like, who are you? And Walt's playing the same kind of game. I want to play something here. We got about 10 minutes. I want to get your take on this because it's kind of a long piece. But the question is, has Barack Obama lost his magic? I'm watching him, and every speech he does, it looks like he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't look prepared. He's saying things in terms of hurting his candidate that he's supporting like a rookie. And he's taken the cause of going after black men who've decided to think on their own and decided Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is not my candidate. I'm sorry, I'm going to go either sit out or go vote for Trump. And here's what Obama has to say to this. Like I said, it's about a 4-minute clip, but let's play. I normally don't play one this long, but I want you to watch him in this. And he's with a group of
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind. Please. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now,
I'm sorry, I can't take it seriously.
It seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
And say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who
here it comes. He can't even say it.
Knows you.
How dare you?
Knows you.
Went to college with you.
Kamala
understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. Who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine. Making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act. So everybody's got help here.
Now here it comes.
About things like education.
Here it comes.
And entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person.
He wants to keep y'all in chains. Joe Biden.
Thinking about sitting out.
Here it comes. The big one. Here we go.
But, because of Putin might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses.
Here it comes.
I've got a problem with that. because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
Whoa. Okay.
And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that.
Whoa.
And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even...
Okay.
It's such a good clip.
Okay.
Where do you even start with
Oh,
that?
boy. Well, I tell you where you start with the black community. The vast majority do not like that. You're telling a group of black men that they can't handle a woman being a leader. And many of those black men, I will bet you, are just like me, other than the skin color. They love their mama, their grandma. They'd vote for a woman that had values, that they understood, that were strong, that were for supporting law enforcement, so the kids can get to school safely, where prices go down so they could afford to put food on the table. You think those black men just think about skin color and they think about you're going to betray your race if you don't vote for Harris? And if you don't vote for Harris, you don't like women? You hate women in power? I mean, it's. I sent. Did you see that clip with the young lady on CNN? The kid with the. I sent it, Phil, to you. I don't know if Phil can find it, but it was. I sent you in the first draft there of a response to that. She did not like it. It was on CNN, and she really.
I like. Well, yeah. Well, he's looking at what Obama was saying reminded me of Joe Biden when he was on with Charlemagne. He said, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black."
Yeah, that's in essence what that is.
Yeah. Now hold on, wait. Let dig deeper because you don't. You got to dig deeper on things. He was vice president to Barack Obama. What do they think about the black community? Basically, it's you're not black if you're not Democrat. Your blackness goes away. Joe Biden didn't just wake up that way. He got it from Barack Obama. That administration, when you think about it, they were very, how should I say this? They were very
divisive.
They were divisive, but it was it was an us and them thing. And from a guy that was like, I represent all of America, hope and change.
Yeah.
Well, it really wasn't.
Phil. Yeah. Okay. No, go ahead. I'm listening. I'm trying to get that clip for you because I agree with everything that you're saying.
But I think he didn't want to be there. You could tell he doesn't even know what to say.
That was somebody solely ill-prepared. And when he got to the point, you could see him weigh in. What's this going to do to me? My reputation now in the African-American community. Well, let's listen to the young lady, Nina Turner, who was a former congressman, now founder of We Are Something. This is on CNN, and in response to Barack Obama's, what he said to those young black
men being lectured to? Why are black men being belittled? For him to single out black men is wrong. And some of the black men that I have talked to have their reasons why they want to vote a different way. Unless President Barack Obama is going to go out and lecture every other group of men from other identity groups, my message for Democrats is don't bring it here to black men who, by and large, don't vote much differently from black women.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she says it all. I mean, it's offensive. I don't know if, because he came across as this privileged guy who's living, doesn't he live in Martha's Vineyard?
Oh, yeah. Multiple houses.
I don't seem he's ever went back to Chicago. And the neighbor said he's from Chicago, he's from Hawaii. But you come across, he's got his own production company now. More power to him.
Yeah.
That's great. But you're going to come flying in at the last second, and what you have to contribute to the campaign is to go and lecture part of your base of African-American men who just decided to think on their own. I mean, it's just astonishing. To me, it's breathtaking that the guy is that politically tone deaf and obviously has been, I think, put up to that. I don't think he and his known – I don't know if Michelle had more to do with it. I don't know. All I know is that is extremely insulting, and the young lady had it right. You know, you just pick out that group, you know, of black men. You don't pick out any other group. And that's why we were talking about at the top of this show. When you put people in a collective, in a group,
Yeah.
and speak to them as a group, not as individuals, that's dangerous.
So what does he think about white men?
What's that?
What does he think about white men?
I think he likes white men. I mean, his
I'm
mom.
just curious.
His mama's white. He's never had trouble interacting with white men. But I mean, he could go after. Yeah, but that was her point. I don't think he really has. I don't even know if he has a pro. I think that was all fake. I think that was a desperation move, trying to get. I think they've done their internal polling. They've added it up, and that 7-8% increase in black support for Trump is enough to put him over in these battleground states.
Yeah.
I just think, and they're panicking, and they bring him in, and then what else are you going to go for? I mean, so I'm trying to come up with some of the things that Harris has done for them. She does some stuff for seniors, and you're someone you've known. You know her. You went to school with her. They're going, what? I didn't go to school with Kamala Harris. What are you talking about? All right, folks. Guillermo, thank you. I know you're a busy man. Philip, thank you for all you do for the show. Yes, most importantly, thank you out there that are listening and those that are viewing online. Love you so much. Just remember, do your best. Let God do the rest. And it's going to turn out the way it's supposed to.